All right, here we have a really like a hot new star of trombone in jazz, Samuel Blaser from Switzerland, and he has a very interesting project that he will be playing in at the Tampere Jazz Festival, which is called Early in the Morning, which is basically playing very early blues but as free jazz. Tell us about that kind of concept.
I mean, there is nothing new about such a concept, but I've been working with Robert Sadin, my producer, since 2011, and we've recorded 3 albums altogether. The first one was an album with Paul Motion, that's his last recording,
Okay.
and the second one was a tribute to Jimmy Jufrey, and for the third one we decided to go back to the roots and record a tribute to the blues. And the first one was a tribute to Monteverdi. So we always had a kind of a theme for each albums, and well, I've been listening to blues since my early age, and I've always been impressed by that music, and I wanted to record something a bit more trombonistic, I would say, because playing the music of Jufre is challenging because you have to play all those lines on the clarinet.
Right.
And now I wanted to go back to to the south, if
Way
I may
down,
say.
way down.
So I took the music. I mean, Jerry Hemingway gave me a bunch of music. Some
For this record to
yeah,
listen to.
yeah. So, but I had a lot of material too, like some recordings from Alan Lomax.
Yeah, yeah.
So I took some of that music and I cut it and I pasted on some music of mine. So it created something very moody and very interesting. I must drifted, like something a little décalé in French we say, like from like early blues with modern music.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This blues that you are doing is actually pretty much the oldest that has got to record. I mean, there was blues before that
Yes.
in some form.
And I took like old cowboy songs from Clarence Ashley or some, but I tried to use very simple melodies that we could rearrange very easily with our vocabulary. And for that recording, we had the idea to invite 2 guests for a couple of songs to change the sound a little bit. So we thought about Oliver Lake, who's playing with us tomorrow, and on trumpet we had the chance to have Wallace Ronnie. So it's a kind of a very interesting mix, I must say, of characters and musical spirits.
What made you pick those 2 guys especially?
Well, I've
Our-
been listening to Wallace since since I'm a kid because well, I saw him. I saw videos of him playing in Montreux with Miles, and I had friends in the big band, and they always told me, "Oh, Wallace is an amazing trumpet player," and he is. And then my producer Robert said, "Oh, maybe we could invite Wallace Ronnie," and I was like, "Yes, let's do it." I didn't even think about any details, so he just called him and he said, and Oliver, I wasn't as familiar with his music as with Wallace, but then that was also an idea from Robert to bring me with Oliver's music. So that's how it started, actually.
Well, Lake is really like a elder statesman of free jazz.
Oh,
in a
totally.
way.
Yeah.
And he has always had that connection to the blues and funk.
Exactly.
you
And
know.
reggae.
And reggae, yeah. Yeah, he's one of those guys.
I mean, yeah, it was interesting because I'm trying to connect all those elements in my own playing. So, and I had Oliver next to me who's really doing that for many years. And then Wallace was more into less free, I would say, than us. But it worked beautifully. Actually, we don't hear any difference.
Right.
It's only music. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an interesting day.
I'm sure it was.
Very intense.
What was it actually that made you pick this very old blues, like not Chicago blues, for instance?
I really like the sound of Robert Johnson, or all those old songs and acoustic songs. Only a few songs were only sung, no guitar.
Right.
I
Yeah.
was thinking about this tune that we used, Tom Sherman's Barroom, and Dick DeVall, that's his name. And the original recording is he's only singing, and it was so beautiful and so solemn. And I thought, wow, this could be just amazing to play this song with an arrangement that I did. So I used very specific technique that I got inspired by Kurtag and Ligeti, and so there are many elements from new music as well that we don't hear anymore because everything is mixed up. But the other day when we rehearsed the music, Benoit said, "Oh, this is coming directly from Ligeti," and I said, "Yes, well." But the mix is interesting. So I wanted to have those old songs because I was touched by them, by the message.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's this whole thing with the roots. I feel personally, I've always have that it's very important. You know, sometimes people who do way out music, they think only of the space,
Yes,
and ahead, but I feel that, you know, if you have deep roots and a knowledge of them, you can go further actually.
and actually the audience is coming with you because they can relate to something that they know. And for me too, it gives me a big aim actually. Like, oh yeah, I will play this melody. How can I insert it in what the others are currently playing, or like so actually it's strong.
Yeah.
We play also that song called Lonesome Road Blues by Sam Collins. It's such a classic, but we play completely other material behind, and then this melody is coming. It's like a dream a little bit.
Yeah.
But then people say, I know this song. And yeah, they can come back and sing it.
Yeah, well, I think that is also kind of essential, that even though you reconstruct the whole thing and take it to something completely else, but if you completely lose the original, somehow it has to be felt there.
Yes. Well, you never really lose it. The melody is too strong. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Are you, by the way, familiar with Captain Beefheart?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he did basically the same thing in his own way.
Yeah.
And I love him, you know.
But I didn't. I didn't use that as an example in my work actually. But I've been listening to this band. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Actually, Gerald Cleaver gave me some few recordings 10 years ago. So.
Okay.
That's how I got into Captain Beer.
Yeah. How did you actually pick the songs? Did you have like 50 songs to begin with?
Yeah, I remember I was actually I got like, I don't know, plenty of recording, and I had many at home and many 78 records.
Right.
And I've been listening to that music all the time, so I had many material. But then I was really trying to get. I'm listening to a lot of music, and then I just select things that I think, this could be very useful, or the material from Alan Lomax was fantastic to use with. I used this song called "Murder's Home," and you hear the.
Is it the one that is recorded in the penitentiary?
Yeah.
The work songs actually, when they cut down trees and stuff.
So you hear
it's amazing stuff.
So I didn't tell Wallace and Oliver when we recorded that material that I took the music from that, because I thought that was too intense. But I think it it works beautifully. Yeah, and so I took the recordings, and I had composed a frame earlier, and then I cut some melodies and I inserted in the frame, and I got this incredible result. Actually, it was ghosty, very scary a little bit, because the music I composed underneath is a little spooky.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting result. And then when we recorded it, when I was playing the melodies with the mute, because I used a lot the wah-wah, because I think the wah-wah is very close to the human voice.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I can almost speak with the trombone. So I had the impression that the guys were in the trombone singing. It was an interesting recording session. Yeah.
Have you been checking a lot of very old jazz, because they used quite a lot of trombone?
Yeah. So the next project, I mean, we are with Robert, who's been producing Herbie Hancock and Wayne and Sting as well. So we talk every 2 days, and we talk about a lot of projects. But the next project would be to record the music of Jelly Roll Morton.
Ah.
So go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the music is incredible. I mean, all the material we can go even deeper actually.
Yeah.
Like use all this incredible material, and the trombone is the king.
Yeah, it is. You mentioned earlier that you also play a lot of reggae.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been. I don't know, somehow in my area in Switzerland where I'm coming from, which is Neuchâtel, there are a lot of reggae players. And
really?
Yeah.
In Switzerland?
Yes. And
Jesus
Rico
Christ.
used to come there because he had his dentist in Neuchâtel.
Really?
Yeah. So
Rico is one of my all-time favorites.
yeah, I mean, he's amazing. And Lee's living in Zurich.
Lee Perry. Yeah.
He's married with a Swiss girl.
Yeah.
And has kids. So he's been traveling to Neuchâtel a lot to record some albums with locals. So I got involved very early with that music. And Linton Kwesi Johnson, drummer, lives in Neuchâtel. So with him, I've been recording a lot of things. And then from this, I got introduced to Dennis Bovell.
Who are the people who have inspired you most on the trombone?
Well, so many people actually, but but I mean the first obvious one I would say is Albert Mangelsdorff. Okay. That's my main inspiration.
Right.
But then of course JJ
Johnson.
Of course was a main inspiration, and then all the other bebop players. But then Globokar is one of my Vinko Globokar. Is one of my favorite trombone players, and his work is amazing. And well, I studied classical music in Switzerland, but I've always played jazz. And then, so I have a classical background, and then I traveled to the US, and I got other inspiration. All the guys with whom I played, John.
How do you relate to? I mean, when you are in that classical and avant-garde kind of world, like you mentioned, Ligeti and people like that, and that music, and then on the other hand you have jazz, and you do even the blues and reggae, which are very, very different in my mind in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But when you approach all these musics, do you have a kind of a different mental setup for everyone, or is it basically at the end of the day just all same music to you with different manifestations?
Yeah, I think it's all I mean, of course I have a different attitude when I play reggae, or if I play the sequenza by Luciano Berio. But it's interesting, speaking of the sequenza, I don't know if you heard that piece, but it's a solo. I mean, Luciano Berio wrote like several sequenza for different instruments.
Right.
And there is one for trombone. And it's a tribute to a clown. And this clown is a Swiss guy, by the way, and he used to say always "why." So the entire piece is a tribute to this "why," and it's perfect because there is a wah-wah, so it's wah all the time. Wah wah. Well, that's the fact that it's very funny. But if you play that I've been playing that piece in contemporary programs in jazz settings,
Right.
but in jazz settings, people they don't notice if it's a written piece or if it's improvised, because
That's a good sign.
the vocabulary from that piece I insert it totally in my vocabulary, and so everything is mixed.
Yeah.
And it's actually very interesting that to see that a contemporary piece can be played in a jazz setting.
Yeah.
Without having too much difference in the attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one example.
What was it in the beginning that made you pick up the trombone? Because it's a big instrument, and I gather you were quite young when you picked it up.
Yeah, well, the legend in the family, I mean, I've been telling that story several times, but since it's my first time in Finland, I can tell it.
Please indulge.
So the legend in the family says that I would have chosen the trombone at age 2.
No kidding.
Yes, this is well. Apparently, there were like marching bands in my hometown. For the end of scholar year, there is always like a parade, and I guess I was impressed by the slide and the shininess of the instrument, and I tell my parents I would like to play this. So that's
You meant it.
yeah, but they didn't quite understand at the beginning, But I was only able to blow the first time in a trombone at age 9 or 8, something like that. So I had to wait quite a few years.
But it's amazing that you kept at it. I mean, kids always say that I want to play the violin or whatever because it looks nice. It's like it's based on whatever, how it looks and whatnot, and then they start to play it, and in 3 years they quit.
That's right.
Very often,
I had a good teacher actually with whom I'm still a friend with, and I think he was wise enough to guide me through my studies, and because of course I had some time where I told my parents, I don't want to play the instruments anymore.
Yeah.
But I think I had too much fun, because the first thing I played on the trombone when I received the instrument is like playing a glissando, because that was so funny. I mean, that's the funniest thing you could ever play on a trombone. And it's so sad because so many players today are not playing glissandos anymore. They are playing everything very correct, and I mean, I think about many players. We are scared of doing like the which is so funny.
Thank you so much.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you.